NASA's Mars rover made a discovery that has shocked the entire scientific community.
Has Curiosity discovered anything which suggests that Mars could have supported actual life?
One of the wonderful things about this mission is that before we were halfway done with what we call the prime mission, we'd already taken data that told the scientists that in fact ancient Mars could have and would have supported life if life existed.
NASA's just dropped a bombshell for Mars.
News from Mars, not just that water was there, perhaps millions of years ago, but also these organic compounds.
And NASA's Perseverance rover may have made an extraordinary discovery, signs of ancient life on Mars.
After being on the red planet for 12 years, our trusty Mars rover has found sulfur crystals. Never before have such crystals been found on Mars. For those who are wondering why this is such a big deal, let us tell you these crystals are a potential sign that water exists on this red planet. But how exactly? And if they prove that water exists on Mars, what does this mean for the future of Mars exploration? 60 long years to Mars. Mars has always been that mysterious red dot in the sky, catching our eye and making us wonder, what's out there? Known as the Red Planet for its rusty color, Mars has been a source of fascination for both scientists and dreamers for centuries. It is the fourth planet from the Sun, and it is kind of Earth-like with its polar ice caps and days that are just over 24 hours long. But don't be fooled. Mars is a complete desert. Its temperatures average around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and an atmosphere so thin, no living thing can survive here. In fact, it is made mostly of carbon dioxide. So why did we decide to venture to this frozen wasteland? Simple. The hope of finding signs of life and learning about the planet's past. Scientists think that billions of years ago, Mars might have been warmer, less dry, and maybe even home to some form of life. That's enough to get anyone curious. It was NASA who took the first step to explore Mars. They started the Mariner missions in the 1960s. Mariner 4, which was launched in 1964, was the first successful flyby mission that sent back the first close-up images of Mars. And what did we see? Craters. Lots and lots of craters, much like our moon. Then came the Viking program in the 1970s. Viking 1 and Viking 2 were launched in 1975. They were the overachievers of their time. They didn't just fly by or orbit, they landed. Viking 1 touched down on July 20th, 1976, and Viking 2 followed in September. These landers did all sorts of experiments to search for signs of life. No little green men were found. But they did give us amazing images and tons of data about the Martian surface and atmosphere. They even did weather reports. Jumping to the 1990s, NASA got a bit more ambitious with the Mars Pathfinder mission in 1996. This mission was a 2-for-1 deal, a lander and a cute little rover named Sojourner. Pathfinder landed on July 4th, 1997, in an area called Gediz Vallis, thought to have been shaped by ancient floods. Sojourner, roughly the size of a microwave, became the first rover to roam around on Mars. It was like a robotic tourist that snapped pictures and analyzed rocks and soil. This mission proved that rovers could be super effective for exploring planets. These early missions were just the start. Viking gave us our first long-term look at Mars, revealing its weather patterns, geology, and the slim chances of finding life as we know it. Pathfinder and Sojourner showed us that we could send rovers to explore and conduct science experiments on the Martian surface. This set the stage for the next generation of rovers like Spirit, Opportunity, and Curiosity, with Curiosity being the latest. Curiosity rover is part of the Mars Science Laboratory mission, which set out to explore Mars and figure out if it ever had the right stuff to support life. The idea for creating Curiosity started in the early 2000s, and by 2004, NASA gave it the green light. This rover is a beast. Built by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, this rover is about the size of a small SUV, which means it is roughly 7 feet tall, 9 feet wide, and 10 feet long, and it weighs in at around 2,000 pounds. The rover has all sorts of gadgets, cameras, and a robotic arm that can do everything from drilling into rocks to scooping up soil. It is like the Swiss Army knife of rovers. Putting Curiosity together was no easy task. It took thousands of engineers and scientists working together to make sure it could handle Mars's brutal conditions. One of its coolest features is the multi-mission radioisotope thermoelectric generator, which is a fancy way of saying it turns heat from radioactive decay into electricity. This lets Curiosity keep running day and night, rain or shine. Well, if there were rain on Mars, that is. Curiosity hitched a ride on an Atlas V rocket and blasted off on November 26, 2011, from Cape Canaveral, Florida. After an 8-month cruise through space, it made its dramatic landing on Mars on August 6, 2012. The landing was a nail-biter, known as the 7 Minutes of Terror. NASA used a sky crane to lower Curiosity gently to the surface. This had never been attempted before. In the end, it was a spectacular success. Curiosity landed in Gale Crater, which is a massive basin with a layered mountain in the middle called Mount Sharp. This spot was picked because those layers could hold secrets about Mars' past. Now, why exactly was Curiosity sent there? To explore the terrain, analyze rocks and soil, and hunt for clues that Mars might have once had the right conditions for life. But NASA was not done showing off. In 2020, they sent the Perseverance rover as part of the Mars 2020 mission. Perseverance was just like Curiosity, but a bit bigger, a bit heavier, and packed with even more advanced technology. Weighing about 2,260 pounds, Perseverance is also powered by an MMRTG, making it ready to roll day and night. Perseverance has a different set of instruments focused on searching for signs of ancient life and collecting rock and soil samples. It has a tool called Sherlock, which uses a UV laser to detect organic compounds and minerals. There is also RIMFAX, which is a ground-penetrating radar to look beneath the Martian surface. Perseverance is also equipped with a sample caching system, which helps it collect and store samples in metal tubes for a future mission to bring back to Earth. And then there is Ingenuity, the little helicopter that could. Tucked under Perseverance, Ingenuity is a tiny 4-pound chopper with 2 sets of rotors that spin in opposite directions to create lift. Its mission was to prove we can do powered flight on Mars. And yes, we did prove it. 3 years ago, on April 19, 2019, Ingenuity Mars helicopter flew for the first time and proved that we can have powered, controlled flight even in the thinnest atmosphere of the red planet. After that first flight, it actually flew 72 times and collected tremendous data. It took its last flight in January this year and won't be flying again in the Martian air. But Curiosity and Perseverance are still exploring the Martian surface. Now, jog your memory and remember what we told you we saw in the first pictures of Mars. Craters, yes. That's exactly what both these rovers are exploring these days. But what exactly did they find in these craters? The lost secrets. First of all, you need to know that when Perseverance landed on Mars, it actually landed into a crater. This crater was later named Jezero. Now, when Perseverance landed on Martian land, scientists were scratching their heads about what kind of rocks they would find on the Jezero crater floor. Some thought the crater floor might be ancient lava flows, while others believed the rocks were sedimentary, brought in by wind or water. So, what did Perseverance find? It discovered several types of igneous rock during its first year, including lava flows and rocks that formed from slowly cooling magma. Igneous rocks are great for telling us information about the history of their surroundings. They have crystals that can tell scientists when and how these rocks formed. Even cooler, these rocks showed evidence of interaction with water. This is a big deal because it means these rocks could have recorded conditions that were habitable for microbial life. If Perseverance's igneous samples make it back to Earth, scientists could answer some major questions about Mars' history, like the evolution of its interior, volcanic processes, and the age of the geological units that filled Jezero crater. Another incredible thing found by Perseverance was ancient lakebeds. At a spot called Wildcat Ridge, within Jezero's well-preserved sedimentary fan deposit, Perseverance hit the jackpot. It found evidence of an ancient lake environment. Not only were these sediments likely deposited in a standing body of water, but they also continued to interact with water long after they formed. This means that the environments recorded within the rocks at Wildcat Ridge would have been habitable for ancient microbial life. This type of rock is perfect for preserving possible signs of ancient life. Now, the plan is to bring these samples back to Earth for a detailed study. Scientists want to search for the presence of organic molecules and look for the chemical and textural signs of ancient life. Curiosity, not to be outdone, has also made some incredible discoveries. One of its big finds was in Gale Crater, where it landed. Curiosity discovered evidence of ancient water flows, including riverbeds and lakebeds. These areas would have been perfect for life if it ever existed on Mars. Curiosity's instruments analyzed the rocks and found that Mars had the right conditions for life for millions of years. Curiosity also found a variety of organic molecules in the Martian soil. Organic molecules are the building blocks of life, and finding them on Mars suggests that the planet might have had all the ingredients necessary for life in its past. Plus, Curiosity found seasonal methane spikes in the atmosphere. Methane can be produced by biological processes, so this was a huge clue that Mars might still be geologically active, or even have some form of life producing the gas. What else? While Curiosity was on its mission to explore the Gale Crater, Perseverance made history on Mars. It created oxygen. The Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, or MOXIE, made oxygen out of the carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere for the first time ever. MOXIE ran 16 times and produced a total of about 4 ounces of oxygen. That's enough to support an astronaut for roughly 4 hours, not a lot, but a significant step toward making Mars habitable. MOXIE really outdid itself, as it surpassed NASA's expectations by creating up to 12 grams of oxygen an hour. This breakthrough technology wrapped up its 2-year mission in September 2023, completing its final run. The success of MOXIE is a giant leap toward future human exploration of Mars, as it shows we can generate life-sustaining oxygen right on the planet. Another cool thing that Perseverance does on Mars is listen to the sounds of Mars. For the first time, scientists have been able to hear what the Martian atmosphere sounds like, thanks to microphones on board the rover. So far, Perseverance has recorded a 24-hour playlist of Martian sounds. It captured noises from its own tools, like the gaseous dust removal tool and even the wind blowing across the Martian plains. This audio gave scientists some fascinating insights. For one, they discovered that the speed of sound on Mars is slower than on Earth. This is due to the thin carbon dioxide atmosphere. Mars's atmosphere also affects the volume of sounds, which varies with the seasons. During low-pressure seasons, the microphone picked up mostly silence. On Mars, sounds you would hear on Earth would be quieter and more muffled. High-pitched noises, like whistles or birds chirping, would be tough to hear on Mars. This new way of analyzing Mars's atmosphere helps scientists understand its dynamics better. It is not just about the sounds themselves, but what they tell us about the environment. What we love most about Perseverance is its photography technique. Have you heard about its 360-degree photography? Mars up close. The Perseverance rover can capture stunning 360-degree photos of the Martian landscape. So scientists no longer have to wish to look around the red planet as if they were standing right there. Perseverance is already offering them incredible panoramic shots. These photos provide scientists with detailed views of the terrain and help them identify interesting geological features and plan the rover's next moves. To dig deeper into Mars's mysteries, Perseverance also has a supercam, which is a versatile tool that's pretty much a rock star in planetary exploration. Supercam sits atop the rover's mast and combines several scientific instruments. It includes a camera, laser, and spectrometers, all working together to analyze the composition of Martian rocks and soil from a distance. Supercam's laser can zap rocks and vaporize a tiny bit of their surface. This process, called laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy, creates a plasma that emits light. The spectrometers then analyze this light to determine the chemical makeup of the rock. This allows scientists to study the elemental composition of Martian rocks without physically touching them. Volcanic rocks, for example, help us understand the planet's volcanic history and internal processes. The presence of these rocks suggests past volcanic activity, which could have contributed to creating a habitable environment by releasing heat and gases. Sedimentary rocks, on the other hand, are formed by the accumulation of sediments, which are often transported by water or wind. Perseverance also found silica and phosphates in Martian soil. Silica, especially in its hydrated form, can indicate past water activity because it often forms in wet environments. On Earth, silica is found in places like hot springs, which are teeming with microbial life. So, finding silica on Mars suggests that similar environments might have existed there in the past, providing habitats for potential Martian microbes. Phosphates are another amazing discovery. You see, phosphorus is a key element for life. The presence of phosphates in Martian rocks could mean that the basic building blocks for life were available on Mars. This bolsters the idea that Mars could have been habitable at some point in its history. The combination of volcanic and sedimentary rocks, along with the presence of silica and phosphates, tells us the story of a Mars that was once very different from the cold, dry planet we see today. These findings suggest that water was present in Jezero crater, and maybe the environment was once habitable. Water is a key ingredient for life as we know it. The evidence of past water on Mars raises exciting possibilities about ancient Martian life. Perseverance has been tracing the trail of ancient water for years, and it has made some interesting discoveries. Tracing the trails of ancient water. The one thing that scientists always wanted to know about Mars was there ever water on Mars? Now we finally know the answer, and the answer is a resounding yes. The evidence keeps piling up thanks to satellite missions, rovers, and landers. Satellites orbiting Mars have provided a bird's-eye view of the planet's surface, revealing dried-up riverbeds, ancient lake beds, and even vast valley networks. These features strongly suggest that water once flowed across Mars, but it is the rovers and landers that give us the up-close and personal details. For example, scientists already knew that Jezero crater used to be a lake, but thanks to images from Perseverance, they now realize that the history of water in this crater is far more complex and dynamic than they originally thought. The rover's images show that sediments entering Jezero's lake were deposited in a delta. This indicates that water flow was not just a one-time event, but likely persisted for a long period. Even more interesting is the evidence of late-stage, high-energy flooding that carried massive boulders into the crater. The origin of these later floods remains a mystery, but each observation helps scientists piece together Mars' watery past. Discovering minerals and rock formations that indicate the presence of water is also important. This brings us to the recent discovery made by NASA. Do you know what proof we have found that water really existed on this red planet? On May 30th, NASA's Curiosity rover surprised scientists as it found bright yellow sulfur crystals inside a rock it accidentally cracked open. It was since October 2023 that Curiosity had been exploring a Martian region rich in sulfates. These sulfates are salts that form when water evaporates, typically leaving behind sulfur-based minerals. But the recent discovery was different. The rock that Curiosity drove over contained pure sulfur, not just sulfur mixed with other materials. This discovery left scientists both puzzled and excited. You might think of sulfur and immediately recall the smell of rotten eggs. Thankfully, pure sulfur is odorless. It forms under very specific conditions, none of which had been previously associated with this part of Mars. The fact that Curiosity found an entire field of these bright sulfur rocks is like finding a hidden treasure in an unexpected place. Curiosity has been off-roading in the Gediz Vallis channel, which is a groove winding down Mount Sharp's side. The rover's mission has been to study the layers of its surface to understand when and where Mars might have had the conditions to support microbial life. Scientists had spotted the Gediz Vallis channel from space long before Curiosity's launch. They believe the channel was carved by liquid water and debris flows, which left a trail of boulders and sediment down the mountainside. The main goal has been to figure out how this landscape evolved over billions of years. Since arriving earlier this year, Curiosity has been investigating whether ancient floods or landslides created the large mounds of debris in the channel. The latest findings suggest that some debris piles are likely from violent water flows, while others seem to result from dry landslides. This conclusion comes from examining the rocks in the debris mounds. Water-carried stones are typically rounded, like river rocks, but some mounds contain angular rocks, which indicates they may have been deposited by avalanches. Other than this, the presence of white halo shapes in some rocks shows where water caused chemical reactions. This provides us further evidence of past water activity. While scientists have been making their own discoveries on Mars, some UFO conspiracy theorists came up with some wild claims about the red planet, the unnatural monument. Some UFO enthusiasts believe they have made an incredible discovery by spotting a ring of stones arranged in a circle on Mars. They have been calling it Mars Henge, after the famous Stonehenge on Earth. This find has started all kinds of wild theories and debates among space fans. Some think these stones might be the remnants of an ancient Martian civilization. They wonder if Mars had its own Stonehenge, maybe even linked to ancient Earth cultures, or built by visitors from our planet a long time ago. This idea has excited many people who love to speculate about the mysteries of Mars. They imagine what kind of life might have existed there and whether it had any connection with ancient civilizations on Earth. But not everyone is convinced. Most scientists and researchers who spend their lives studying space and planets are pretty skeptical. They believe that this discovery is fascinating, sure, but they don't believe Mars Henge is evidence of an ancient Martian society. They think people might be letting their imaginations run wild. In Mars's red deserts, some enthusiasts also see signs of an old Martian society in photos taken by NASA. They spot shapes that look like pyramids and statues with human-like features. These images have started many crazy stories and ideas about what might have been on Mars in the past. Some space fans are certain that these shapes are too perfect to be natural. They believe these could be the remains of buildings and art from a time when a smart society lived on Mars. People who love these theories imagine Mars was not always a cold, empty place. They picture a time when it might have been full of life, with cities and art, similar to ancient civilizations on Earth. However, not everyone agrees with these ideas. Scientists, who are experts on planets and life beyond Earth, look at the same pictures and see a different story. They explain that Mars has been shaped by wind, dust, and time. The shapes some think look like pyramids or faces could have been made by natural processes, like wind-blowing sand and rocks for millions of years. These natural forces can create shapes that seem familiar or special to us, even when they are just regular rocks or hills. Scientists also talk about something called pareidolia. This is when our brains see patterns, like faces or objects, in random things. It is the same thing that happens when we see shapes in clouds. This trick of the mind can make us think we are seeing something familiar, like a face or a pyramid, even when it is just rocks and shadows. So, while the idea of Mars Henge and other supposed Martian monuments is exciting and fun to think about, the scientific community does not believe in it. They believe these formations are most likely natural, shaped by Mars' harsh environment over millions of years. But why do we so strongly want Mars to be inhabitable? Life on Mars. It's simple. Earth is facing serious challenges. Climate change, pollution, resource depletion, everything is pushing our planet to its limits. If an asteroid hit, or if nuclear or biochemical wars broke out, humanity could be wiped out in a second. This is why we need a backup plan, and Mars is the best candidate. Elon Musk has also seen the same problem and come up with a similar solution. It is why he is so keen on sending humans to Mars. It is also the reason NASA has been working so hard and helping Elon to make it livable. They see Mars as a potential lifeboat for humanity that can ensure our survival, even if Earth becomes uninhabitable. Do you think it's possible? Can we really live on Mars? Share your opinions with us in the comments below. If you want more mysteries uncovered, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we have got a lot more of this. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.